Hello, fellow Carnalites, and yes, this is a second video for today because I have just completely had my eyes opened by a video posted by The Quartering about Jack Murphy and his article that he had written on cuckoldry. Now, for those of you who don't know, this article has been scrubbed off the internet and even off the Wayback Machine archives. So, good luck finding this article written by Jack Murphy and the contents therein. I will be giving a general synopsis here, both on how we became aware of this situation and what it implies, and the general trend on the internet and in the quote-unquote manosphere of the internet. How these things are not... well, they're not real. They're not healthy. They're not helpful. They are not, and they are, as The Quartering, Jeremy, correctly states and observes, that they're scams. They're frauds. They are not actual, real-life advice that you should be applying to your mentality, to your character, to your way of life. And we're going to let's just start from the beginning of this debacle. Jack Murphy was on a live stream with a program where they read all of the super chats. And the young woman who was in charge of reading the super chats, at reading a super chat, asked Jack Murphy about his cuck article. And in response to being asked about something he himself had written, Jack Murphy lost his shit. He lost his shit and began to berate the female co-host on the show about why she would bring this up to him. Why is she doing this to him? Why is she trying to ruin him? And all other such things. He lost his shit at a co-host who was simply reading a goddamn super chat. Now, and then he decided to double down and not apologize until Jeremy, The Quartering, stepped in and said, dude, you fucked up here. This is weak. This is not manly. This is, and The Quartering really, from the impression I got, really went into this. And he should have. He should have defended his friend in this way. And that is completely in his right. It is a masculine duty to step in when any injustice has been done, particularly against young women or women in general. The idea that this is white knighting or simping or a sign of masculine weakness is something that I want my audience to take a step back from and go, no, men do have a natural, good, and wholesome desire to protect the dignity and honor of women. Period. You should feel that, and it should be cultivated and nurtured. Does it belong to incel virgins on the internet? No, they probably shouldn't. They should probably, look after their own interests first, tend to the women in their own lives physically. They should, of course, be looking to their own, finding their own wives, their own girlfriends, and all that stuff. If you're going to be on the internet defending women, my advice to you is at least have a woman in real life that you're already committed to. That's going to be my only caveat there. Why? Because, well, simping is evil. And you don't want to be a chump for someone online that you don't actually know in real life. That is just for your own emotional protection, and you should already know this. But continuing on to the Jack Murphy scenario. The reason I want to bring it up, the reason that I want to highlight this example is to drill in something that I said actually a couple of years ago. And it is that this alpha Cernovich gamma gorilla BS crap is not actually masculine. You are not a man. You are not fulfilling your role in a masculine fashion. You are not fulfilling your own ethos if you are not providing and protecting your woman and your children. That is where your masculinity belongs. Your masculinity does not belong fucking everything that walks. Your masculinity does not involve validating your worth by seeing how hot of a chick you can get to bed with. That is not validating your masculinity. Because you haven't actually owned anything. You haven't actually kept anything. You haven't actually built anything. You are a builder. Engaging in hookup culture is just degenerate consumerism for your soul. And it's not masculine, it's not manly, and anyone who tells you otherwise is full of shit. To highlight that point, we need to discover what Jack Murphy was saying in this article that really highlighted and celebrated cuckoldry. This man, this Jack Murphy, this guy who wants you to pay money to be part of an inner circle, to be a better man, to the tune of $100 a month, wrote an article on the end game of actually viewing your masculinity in the light of actually thinking that having sexual control over women, having sex with multiple women, having relations and dominance over women to the degree that you would get pleasure from a quote-unquote masculine source that tells you to send your woman to have sex with another man is not masculine, but it is the inevitable conclusion of actually believing that your masculinity is tied to the quote-unquote sexual conquest, which is another aspect of this absolute bullshit line. Look, that's actually a line from the radical feminists. It honestly is. This idea that men view sex as an act of conquest and that the male ego needs to conquer multiple female bodies to validate itself is a feminist talking point. And it's bullshit, because if you actually studied patriarchy, if you actually studied most religious institutions and societal structures, sex is not a conquest, it's a fucking responsibility that men own and are accountable for, even if the womb is not between their own legs. You have to understand, men's ownership over women was not to control women. It was because the owner of the tribe, the leader of the family, is accountable for the life that is growing and develops therein. It's another mouth you have to feed. Sex is not about conquest, it's about responsibility. Every patriarchal system develops around that hard, natural truth. So let's go back to the Jack Murphy cuckoldry article, where he basically gets his rocks off on the idea that he can control another woman to the point that he can send her to have sex with another man from Tinder. And honestly, if you view your sexuality and your ego through the lens of commanding and controlling other women, that is naturally where you're going to go. You're going to degenerate to a point where your source of pleasure comes from telling a woman that you are supposed to provide and protect for to go have relations with another person, as opposed to your natural biological instinct to be jealous, to be protective, to be strong, to be considerate of, and to want the best of those under your care and protection. Understand that kind of mentality and that kind of place is the inevitable conclusion for that kind of lifestyle, for that kind of, Gamma Gorilla, Cernovich, Jack Murphy bullshit. You will eventually cut yourself out because of masculinity. Unfucking ironically. Now, does Jack Murphy believe this today? To be perfectly clear, he may have changed his views on that. He might be ashamed of ever having written that article. Here's why Jack is so fervently trying to scrub that article off the internet and why he won't engage with it afterwards. He cannot deny the logical steps that got him there, even if he hates ever having gone there in the past. He cannot address that article and call it bullshit and say mea culpa without being a hypocrite to everything he has sold young men today. And that is a lesson you need to take to heart. Branded masculinity is full of shit. Because if it was real masculinity, you wouldn't have to fucking brand it in the first place. And that's just a message that I needed to get out there, that I needed to make sure that all y'all were loud and clear on. And just make sure that you take care of yourself, take care of your families, take care of your loved ones. And you do it by being a man the best way you know how. That's the message for today. Now stay carnal and God bless everyone. Bye-bye.